meeting or?
Yes.
He's
got a
not
cigarette.
having a cigarette.
Oh, all right.
Our meeting is at 1 o'clock.
Yep,
Is it okay if I stay?
yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
I know I'm not-
Stick around, enjoy the show. All right.
We have an in here,
Just appropriate.
so it's separate or in there.
Probably in that other room there. Just so we can all get around the table and
Yep.
then,
Everybody can look at each other.
yeah,
I'm happy to leave.
well, look, you gonna do it in here then? or? Okay.
Yes.
Yep, all right, we'll do it in here then. All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll wait for Arlen. I'm gonna pass around,
Hold on.
oh, okay. Roll call.
Well, one of them, we got it ready. Okay. Bob Olson.
Yep.
Jim Sheeline,
Here.
John Nicholson, Marilyn Shippert. Here. Chris Norberg,
Here.
Arlen McLean.
Have a cigarette.
On his way.
Okay,
He'll show up sooner or later.
thank you.
Okay, before visitors, I'm gonna pass this around and
How about I
explain.
approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
Oh, I guess I gotta look at that, don't I?
There's a reason we have an
Yes.
agenda.
Okay,
That's okay, Bob.
anybody get a chance to look at the
I'll make-
minutes?
yeah.
I just wanna pass these around real quick. Is there any corrections? Any additions or questions? If none, we'll let them stand as
Now
read.
you can pass it around.
Now I'm gonna pass this around because Becky told me that I gotta have you guys go through here and some chairs didn't sign their papers, so make sure you go through them all.
Okay, can I interrupt for just 1 second? Because in your packet, there's also minutes from a meeting that we did not approve in June, I believe. It was a special meeting. So can we get that one?
Yes.
I think it was June 30th, if you want to look. So
Anybody
we
got
need
any
that one approved as well.
additions or corrections to June 30th? Is that a motion to improve?
I make a motion to approve. it.
Yep,
Both-
and I'll
both-
second it if you want it.
Both minutes, correct?
Yep,
Yep,
Chris and John. Okay,
good to
thank
go.
you.
okay. Send this there too. Do we have claims too, or paid vacation or
Right
whatever?
here.
Have you got the one from the public defender?
I sure do, right here.
We missed one in public safety yesterday,
Okay.
public defender. Holder got underneath something and
Yep, I know how it works. I've been there. I'll send these this way. Arlen, you wanna take a look and pass them around? That's a mess there. You know, take, just glance through it.
Just look at him. Don't do it.
We got questions later.
He's kind of confused today anyway.
I was good today.
You were.
There's no cigarette. I'm better now. than when I had
You're
it.
not shaking it anymore.
All right, let's,
Hold on. You want me to read this claim off for public defender? Is that what you're thinking, Marilyn?
that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, great. Okay, I've got US Bank office supplies for $38.25. I have US Bank for reimbursement of $290.53.
you want us to formally approve that?
I make a motion to approve that claim.
I'll second that motion.
Marilyn seconds it. All those in favor to approve that, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna go to visitors on our agenda. Jennifer, you got anything you'd like to share with us?
No, I don't have anything to share at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Have no, Nancy, do you have anything?
If you look on that monthly claim sheet that's also going around with, so probation's gonna be 0. Do you want me to make a correction and we'll add this?
What's the best
Public
way to do
defender,
it?
you mean?
I'm sorry, I said probation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Public
I stand corrected,
Yeah.
public
um,
defender.
I think we'll have to correct the sheet or whatever, but that's no big deal.
Okay.
Who's gonna be 0?
Public defender, the claim that
Oh,
yesterday got lost
Okay,
under the
I
file.
see.
So the sheet that you're gonna see coming around, you're
I
gonna
didn't
see that it
catch
says
you
0,
designated
so
other than-
it will be
Yeah.
corrected. Okay.
Who's on first?
What's on second?
Yeah, so you're gonna have to do that at board meeting, transportation. Do you approve?
Yeah, why isn't it there? We did, this is pretty.
These are
Oh,
pretty
okay, all
interesting.
right.
Don't you usually ask for payment for claims? At
We always-
board meeting?
No. We usually
At
have-
board meeting, you
have
always-
a Transportation.
We can make one up if it's not.
Oh.
Before we leave today,
Yeah.
we'll do that, so we got it right. All right, we're done with visitors. Charlie, you got anything you want to share with us?
What's our next sector?
All right,
Nothing.
I have a question for Charlie. Did I catch that correctly this morning? That good old JB did not renew the executive order? And that we cannot no longer vote at Zoom meetings?
He renewed executive orders, but he did not renew the portion that said you cannot, yes.
Why was that? Did he give it?
I wasn't invited to the meeting. I don't know.
I wasn't either, Charlie. Don't feel bad, but that's crazy. Whatever,
So annoying.
We should be used to it by now. So I'm gonna skip monthly claim sheet, let everybody get a chance to look at them before we vote on them. Might be the proper way to do that. So let's go to petitions coming to the zoning board of appeals, A through J.
You want to do committee reports?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Got them all over the board here.
Why do we have an agenda?
Well, that's, you know.
I'm glad you're here to keep him on track.
Geez.
That's why you had to pull in a table because
Mr.
we need
Shoeline,
you
would
up
you
here.
like to give a committee report?
I think you gotta sign it.
Right, sir.
Probably gotta sign it.
I'll do my committee report as soon as.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Just no rush.
We met Monday, and the recommendation coming from transportation committee was,
Sorry. Recommendation coming from Transportation Committee on the UTV ordinance was that, or the concern that was carried from the committee. Oh, thank you. Was that on,
Yeah, three concerns, I think.
yeah, there was two. They really came down to two. And that was on the slow moving vehicle section on EI of section 5. And Charlie talked about, we actually talked about this in finance. How was that? We're going to change the wording on that.
Which one? E what?
Slow moving vehicle thing.
There was language that was put in there, and I don't know if that language was the one that you have in front of you, but it was to include that if it was a 35-mile-per-hour zone, then they would have to have that slow moving vehicle signage on there.
35-mile-an-hour zone or 35-mile speed limit on the UTV.
35-mile-per-hour zone speed limit or less, I should have said.
Yeah, so it's basically in a subdivision or. Well, that's-
Correct, or
that's
like
what
in
would-
town
would be
here
our
or in
plan.
town in Franklin Grove, Amboy, whatever it may be.
And then the other was section 2 under general was non-highway vehicles as defined shall be allowed on county and township is the way it was written. And we do not have jurisdiction to tell townships that they have to do this and it has to go before the individual township boards.
Correct. We're gonna have them vote on each of the individual ones. Vote on.
Let's see, then the other thing, and continue my monthly, we filled up another truck is, I think we're up to 50 tons. 50 tons. It just blows my mind.
Wow.
50 tons of recycled electronics. So that continues to be, I think that's a great program, great service that we offer to the folks. And again, and I'll say it again in full board, that's 50 tons. It's not
Not in the
our
ditch.
So anyway, that and then we did, and this will be coming from, but we did pass on the request to finance to amend the highway budget to allow for the $270,000 expenditure on the trailer and excavator. So thank you very much for that. That's, as we talked about that in committee, and that's a long-term purchase and it's going to be well used and the guys. And so we asked Dave, as far as, they're developing their plan in regards to what all options are going to be. But one of the things that the ability that this gives to the guys is that you can set that. So that like if you're cleaning out underneath a bridge or whatnot, and you can set it so it can only go down depth and so far. So if you're bucketing underwater, and normally you'd have to have a guy go down there with stake and check grade and check elevation, you don't have to have that. You set up a laser and it's all automatic. So it's not only going to be a good piece of equipment for the county, but it's also going to save us money in labor costs. As Dave says, he's going to be able to send one guy out and clean out ditches all fall.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great thing. Thank you.
Any questions? John?
Yep, Tuesday, paid her claims. Becky's kind enough to reorganize a couple things, put a few in there and Becky's kind enough to stick a few things in there, so we don't forget to make the motion to pay the claims, because sometimes that does happen. And we had reports from our committees. Under old business, one of the things that's taken an awful lot of time is not necessarily doing the work, but keeping up with the guys doing this tuck pointing and pressure washing. Greg and I have had numerous meetings with them. And we are also doing some talk about repurposing the old LEC. And so Tom Wilson and Greg and I met for probably the better part of the morning over there one day last week, 2 weeks ago, and trying to figure out what we can get done there. Discuss the mass transit district. We're going to have that come up here shortly. New administrator's office essentially done, other than the dead bat on the tower. Not here. I'm sorry. And the committee and boardroom rental agreement update, and that was drawn up by Wendy, and we'd like to get that on the agenda.
Terms and
if we
everything.
could, so we can pass that.
You got a copy of it?
I do.
Pass it around. Nancy, do you want to put that on the agenda?
I don't know if there's we just need to do it because it would be revenue coming into the village.
We had an issue today. Whatever happened with that gal today with the deposition?
That's why I ran out as I saw her go down the stairs, and the person that was doing the deposition forgot to call and make a reservation yesterday.
Okay.
Treasurer's office. next room.
Okay, all right. Yeah, somebody needs to let us know. They just don't show up.
Well, they told him, call and make the reservation, and he never did. So when she showed up, she got the deer in the headlight. I didn't know.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, here's, Wendy was kind enough to draw up an actual rental agreement too, so.
Did everybody get a chance to look at it? I mean, it's pass it around and
Yeah, we all looked at it. It's declining dollar per hour for rental. It's like $25 for the first 2 hours, 20 for less, $15 for all day, and it just kind of it passed through the committee. So
All right.
we got the petitions that you'll see here. We did approve because he had it in his budget for Greg to go purchase a maintenance department heater regulator, only because the first guy has not come through and he has it in his budget. UTV ordinance went through. We had some discussion. We voiced some of it with slow moving vehicle signs, but other than that, it went through. Didn't do a motion because it's already on the agenda here. There was a lot of discussion on repurposing the old LEC, but to do that, first, we decided we're going to have a structural integrity survey. Wendler's been contacted. I have a short meeting with Scott Brown tomorrow morning to walk through there and see what we're going to take. I have several ideas. Everybody on the committee's got several ideas, but until we find out for sure it can be used for that, no reason to go on. We tabled the resolution, the reappointment for the planning board. With some discussion on these new pipeline building permits, but that was tabled. And then the last but not least, I've been asked by several of the department heads to brighten up the place. And so we're discussing doing some interior painting, and it's kind of a three-phase thing. You got to get the outside work done, got to take care of some of the upper vessels, and then we're going to start trying to do some repair and paint. So that's all. If anybody's got questions.
make questions for John?
I'm sorry, John, I have a question. So you've tabled that resolution for the pipelines building permit fees. So I'll take that off the county. Okay, that will be taken off.
Which one was that? What number here? What?
If you're on the executive agenda, it would be wait a minute. Yeah, under 12 new business.
All right.
And then if you go to the agenda for county board, it was H under new business. So I will remove that.
So court system fees or pipeline fees?
G,
Pipeline fees.
G, Nancy.
It's under I on the regular one and G, yeah.
Okay,
No,
so
no.
what are you gonna do with that or re-look at
It's
it?
tabled only because there were questions on what type of pipe. Are they gas? Are they water? Are they
Okay,
trenched in by somebody else? Are we doing some of the work? So we're gonna get more definition on it.
yeah, we're not doing any of the work. It's just a fee that we're gonna charge.
Come
them.
back at,
Yep.
yep, come back at it next month.
Then I'm sorry, John, this needs to go on the county board, then the rental.
Rental agreement.
Yes, yes, I think so. Because it will be rental coming into the community or into the court.
I got a bunch of questions on paid vacation.
Or
Or not,
not,
or,
per diem.
per diems. So as I went through this, Rick is down for the Zoom meeting. We need to adjust that.
So he is down and I wanted to have a conversation about that. And I don't know whether the appropriateness is do it here or do it in, I don't know when that would be appropriate to have that conversation.
Well, we need to decide. 'Cause I've got to.
So I informed him that he is not eligible for per diem.
Correct.
So, but we wanted to reflect that he was present at the meeting.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're not.
Yeah, and I think you told him I was at that meeting. You told him at the start of it, so.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
but-
I don't know, the conversation that I think at some point we should have, regardless of what the executive order was and we do allow under Open Meetings Act, if I remember the language is that if you have a work-related reason of why you have to attend a meeting by electronic means, that's still an eligible, that's a valid reason to do that. I don't know, I can't remember how in our workbook, does that reflect that exemption?
I don't think it's allowed under our rule.
I think
No,
that, and see, I think that's correct, Marilyn.
It's not addressed under our rules, so we go back to what the state, we don't say that in our rules and procedures.
Can't we
It does
address
not.
it and
I can address it as I'm writing the rules and procedures now. I'm happy to reflect what the state has to reiterate that, correct, Charlie, is how you'd probably put it. But if he was there on a work related, then yeah, he absolutely gets paid. I just saw it, I wanted to question it.
Yeah,
That's-
and so,
But if he was on work related, but that isn't approved in our current procedure.
and that's why, that's why he's down, but I wanted to have this discussion.
Okay.
I don't know how it fits, but proceeding onward, that's why I was so surprised. that Pritzker said, well, he's going to renew the executive order, but not the one where you can vote or attend by Zoom. I mean, that to me doesn't make good sense because that's going to be one of the things that's going to have to happen eventually if this COVID rears its ugly head. I have no problem not. I don't know how it's set up, Charlie. Without voting, he can't vote. That's a state statute, am I correct?
Correct.
Can't be paid a per diem. That's our statute, and we can change that.
Correct. Under your board rules, he would not be paid a per diem.
Right. So I'm saying, should we address that with the technology changing the way it is?
And I think that was something that was going to be addressed in the review of the board rules and procedures through admin services. I just don't know if they've done it.
I think that's in the works, but we can't do
Have
it
you-
right now.
No, I understand that.
I think Chris's committee is taking that up.
Yeah, Chris, are you addressing that?
Yeah, we're looking at rules and procedures, and Wendy and I are gonna sit down next week and kind of go through this some more, so definitely address that at that
I'm
point.
just interested.
And I don't think
because-
we can go above and beyond what the state says, but we can reiterate that we allow it if it's,
Can't
I'm
we-
working, I have to be in St. Louis, then should be able to
Do
do
we
that.
have to have working in there? We can't just, I mean, we can't.
There's certain things that the state allows.
Yeah,
We can
to
reiterate.
there's always the fine print, but
Well-
it was always to be a work-related reason why you were not physically present at it.
And one of the things, and Chris has been an innovator on this, is to try to get younger people on the board. And one of the ways we can get younger people on the board is not hold their feet to the fire as far as physical presence here, that they can Zoom in and conduct some of the business. Now, like say, can't supersede the state, but maybe go as far as we can to maximize their ability to get in on these meetings. So that we do get some younger people on the board. That's why we went to night meetings.
We'll address it. And then I've got a couple here for you, John, that don't, in our rules and procedures, don't qualify under, I got one here for Marvin. That was July 27th, but they weren't offering in-person meeting at the time. So
Right,
it's a
so-
Zoom.
Yeah,
as
so
well.
Marvin's was not, the Tri-Counties is not a public body, so they don't have to follow the Open Meetings Act, and the rescinding of that isn't a concern, and they only offered then the Zoom. Now, they're changing that going forward, but for that meeting, Marvin didn't have the option of attending in person.
Okay, so I got no problem with that. And then, John, you've got a couple here, like meeting with Berglund, meeting with maintenance. Those don't qualify under our per diem rules. Our per diem is a meeting,
And assigned committee.
assigned committee, correct?
Okay. But I'll check that out.
You want these back, or how do you want to handle that?
Packet if it's not.
Okay. Mark or Arlen?
And
We've got about
Chris,
half a dozen.
Chris, do you want to mark, because I didn't mark, you want to mark Rick as non-paid, present but not made, non-paid.
I don't care.
We good? I think we're,
Sign them.
Half a dozen you have to sign.
we're done with your report. No questions?
I'm done.
All right, Marilyn?
Public safety, pretty routine. We approved the claims. We've talked about the UTV ordinance, which has already been discussed here. The sheriff gave his presentation again, which I think everybody here heard at finance. Other than that, that was it.
All right, questions for Marilyn? Chris?
County clerk increased the fee, excuse me, went into effect. Had some problems there, but so far, everything seems to be moving forward. Voting machines are going out for bid. I believe that was earlier this week that got us set up. Rules and procedures, as I said, are being discussed, looking at consolidating committees and bringing in some of the stuff that we're talking about here. And the claims procedure is working spectacular. I can't say that we are not running any shorter of a meeting, but we spend anywhere between 5 and 7 minutes per committee getting an actual report rather than talking about a water bill. So I think we thought we were going to run a shorter meeting, but we're definitely not. We are still at an hour and just got way more information than we had in the past. So that's all I have.
Any questions for Chris?
Can I back up a minute?
Yep.
Wendy also presented a plan on claims showing us what other counties are doing. So looked very interesting, and she has to pursue if our software is capable of handling it.
I like that what she showed us too. I don't know if everybody's seen that, but you've seen that, right?
I didn't mean to neglect this committee. I tried to get to all the other committees except transportation and share with them. So I thought if I came here, it'd be a repeat. When we get to the point of making that recommendation, though, you'll be the first to know.
I think it's a walk before we run. DeKalb County is what she's referring to. They've got an awesome technology in place. We are not currently at that point for Lee County. We just know that with the technology we have, but we're going to try to get ramped up to make this claims process much more streamlined in 21st century, because that's what we really need to do.
Including transportation?
Yes,
I
sorry.
believe it needs to include transportation, but I think there has to be some working details on how we work through it. And you can see how we're doing ours right now at Service. So I'd love to sit down with you, Jim, and see how transportation can be pulled in to minimize it. And at the end of the day, if you guys don't want to, I think we can make exceptions. I don't know how we're going to do it.
I
but-
don't think it's a question of whether we want, I would love to dispense with the 20 minutes of our meeting and
20
going
minutes?
through, yeah, sometimes a half an hour. Yeah, exactly right, Marilyn. My understanding is that transportation was a little bit different animal. We had different statute requirements. Is that correct, Charlie?
Correct, yeah. And that's why you do the moving to accept claims during the board meeting too. So-
Correct.
So I, as much as I want to, I think the reality is we're not going to be able to get away with it, just especially with proximity down there. But there is some stuff that we're looking at that less than
Anything you
1,000.
can bring to us that'll help streamline our processes, we are all for.
Well,
I
one
can
of,
tell
one of
you
the
that. We're not
suggestions
opposed.
is 100, 500, or $1,000 will automatically are pre-approved by a department head. You probably have a lot of bills that are less than that, yeah, it's not, we're not talking about saving time, but it's, at the end of the day, it's saving time. So we can get to the meat and potatoes of what our meetings need to be about.
Well, and a lot of times it is, because we'll talk about, a credit card bill. Why are we still paying Comcast? Is a constant. Why are we paying a minimum fee to Aramark? That's a constant thing that's been discussed probably since
The dawn of time.
Well, I think your committee needs to work on it, but also what would happen if we got on our website, had a board member portal that we could post these on, that we'd have to sign into the portal as a board member, and you could view your fees or your.
I think
claims.
that's 21st century, Bob. Like, I would just like to get it to the 20th century at this point. So
But I think we need
I
to go that way.
I
and then
believe, I'm right with you. I believe
So-
that we need to eventually get to that point, but
Any
right
board
now
member
we're.
could see any member or committee's claims, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely. I think we want to get there, but it will take just some time. So we're
Well,
trying to progress this forward, and so far it's gone really, really
I
well.
think you need to see it evolve, and Winnie and I have discussed even maybe having some of the claims there that a committee member can look at if they have a question on it. And even having a situation where maybe they can send out a copy of the sheet with the committee packet that goes out, so the committee members can look at the bills prior to going to the committee. So if they have a question, they can do it. And then with the technology as it evolves, I think we can get that done. And I do wholeheartedly agree with Bob on that, once it gets going, and I can't speak necessarily for IT, but I think to get the board, all the bills out there, all the claims out there on the portal, in our website. So John Q. Public can look at it, not just committee members, not just board members, not staff.
Well, we have all the chairs of the committees here, and I'll get to Arlen in a minute. I was also thinking about going electronic iPad or a workbook or something for committees. I mean, think about it. If your committee would do that, I was thinking executive at least go that way. We waste a lot of paper. I mean, if you see what we print out all the time.
Tremendous amount of people.
Yeah, I mean, we do need to go that direction. So, toss it around to your committees.
I agree. There's a lot of age on the board, but the age can learn too.
Sure.
I can't.
So
Arlen.
my only
I'll help
comment
you,
to
Arlen.
that-
What do you got back there?
Because I think I straddle that, and here I am, I'm the one with the
Right,
iPad here, and there are things and you'll constantly see me referring back to this, but there is, I'll tell you, as much as I use that thing, there is a difference between that and having the paper in front of you.
Yeah.
It's really, and maybe that's still, the training in my
Once you
head.
get changed over, you'll be used to it.
Is that right?
It
You
takes
promise me
getting
on
used
that?
I promise.
Takes
I
getting
think
used
the
to it.
difference, like between an in-person meeting and a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Right now, we all say we get more out of the in-person meeting, and, we're getting accustomed to Zoom, but I don't think we're all comfortable. with
Takes
it.
a while. It's like I was showing Bob.
Well,
I never used to, everything I did was on paper. Now, everything I do is on my phone.
Yeah.
And it takes 2-3 years sometimes to get acclimated to it and learn the technology.
well, and sometimes the stuff is not even in your control. It's just like Rick this morning, he was trying to participate and he thought he was in a good spot, but he was still in and out, It's
Well,
just the way
I
it
think
is.
we'll start with the executive committee for sure, and we can always print out stuff if we need something here, if we have it printed out.
We just have to have IT. be able to train us.
Yeah. It won't be that bad, but go ahead, Arlen, you want to do your Finance
I thought
report.
We had a good budget meeting, no real decisions made.
Microphone.
And we have to remember to talk in the mic. Really good discussions with the sheriffs, doing the thing. Still have the same issues in front of us that what can we get from the grant? What do we want to do with wages? What do we want to do with wages to the $15 an hour? What we want to have done on the sheriff's request. So there's still a lot of things out, but I think we had good information. It's really trying to take on an awful lot of the finance committee this year. I mean, we have so much paper and so much things going on that it's a tough time. if we didn't have Jim trying to look up the stuff when the meeting was going. It was
Well,
crazy.
that was a dumb housekeeping thing that I.
Anyway, I think almost everybody's in the room during the meeting, so I don't think I need to go too much of it, but it's proceeding, but with pain.
You'll have it done by when?
Before the next budget year.
Okay.
We'll use up our allotted time.
Yes, all right, all right.
You'll have about 17 more meetings.
I was hoping weekend, but all right, whatever. Just a different week, huh?
Well, the biggest thing, quite honestly, is gonna be what we get from the ARP meeting today.
Yep.
Of, anything we can charge there, because last time I reviewed what they thought they had approved, it was very small numbers compared to the $6 million we get. Even if we can pick up overtime, I think there's some ways, that's, I'm gonna go to the meeting today to try to talk about that. Doesn't make any sense to me at all that they wouldn't approve voting machines when everybody's talking about fraud and part of I'm doing that because we got a grant. I think if we can put our budget together on a one-time money, we go forward, we know we've got a budget from later on. Short term, we just because we have the money to do it, we need to get ready for the other stuff. But it's, I thought the sheriff did an excellent job. Everybody held their temper, nobody did anybody, but it was a good discussion.
Just so the committee knows where we're at. So today, what happened today is that now we're going to plug in the roughly $400,000 that his request is for the 5 positions. And then we verified what his request was in capital. So now we got to circle back, have those numbers plugged in, see where we're at. And then we have to have, we're kicking the can down the road, making the tough calls. And but it's coming, it'll get there.
I think you had 100,000 surplus and now you're 300,000 deficit probably.
That's probably about right.
Well, he didn't really offer that, but doesn't mean he has to offer it. He was talking about the money, and I have real strong feelings back to other people, what you get for clientele outside. And it's gotta be, the end question is, what can the county afford for safety? Short term, I think.
The original talk, when we put the figures together for the jail, was, I believe he had penciled in $450,000 in revenue that would be coming in each year by housing the prisoners, either from DOC, immigration, whatever.
If they hire, they're not gonna make any change for 6 months because you have to send them to class or you have the expense all from it. We're not gonna see a reduction in overtime till halfway.
That's right.
Year if we get them all in.
Yeah.
Harlan, use your mic, please.
Thank you, Marilyn. I just didn't want to say it anymore.
He's
Giving up.
Yeah, and that was something that stuck out this morning, Arlen,
That's right.
that, he's saying that the overtime will be reduced, but in reality, it won't be reduced to that point because it's gonna be August or something like that before he's gonna get some of these guys.
Well,
on
even if
board.
he gets all the positions he wanted, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's not gonna cut your overtime
Benefit
bill.
overtime, but we have to have some language, at least in my opinion, that will deal with when it doesn't happen, what do you do? We haven't had the issue of what,
When it doesn't happen, what are you gonna do? You're gonna pay the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
or you cut positions.
his big problem is he doesn't have any training slots. I don't know what they call that down in
but
Springfield.
the academy installed, they can't get them in, so he's stuck.
Was there any follow-up? Because there was discussion at one time of people taking correction officers from the prison on part-time to fill some vacancies.
He uses a lot of retired correction people. for
Well, he
bail.
does for those, but not
Yeah,
for
I
his
haven't
regular
seen that.
positions.
I don't know. Can't speak to that. I have one minor thing that just came up. I'd like to get in under probably visitors or people to speak for the board, to the board for that 5 minutes. I don't know if all of you know Linda Harrisman, but she's very active in the Goodfellows, and the Goodfellows are one of the things that got thrown out of the DET building. But Clara Harris is the president of that organization. She would like to address the board on next Thursday night.
We could put her on a speaker or
Yeah, Clara Harris. It would be one of the 5-minute slots because it's probably nothing's gonna be on the agenda. It's
Do you want her under the announcements so then she can go, first right along there with Robert Thompson and that Carrie Fulkin from Best?
get her out of here.
And then,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry, John, what was her full name?
Clara Harris.
Clara Harris.
Clara Harris, she's president of the Goodfellows. They're the ones I think we just talked about. They're gonna occupy that church down there where 7 bumps into Lincoln.
So yeah, I'll put her up there in announcements and then she'll be able to go first.
She's a
and-
good light. She
Okay.
won't take-
We don't have anything on the agenda, John, about the garages, do we? I heard that went through. You had a recommendation from your committee to building new garages. That's not, no.
No, what the situation is we're gonna try to reconfigure and reuse the garages that were just a little north and a little east or a little west of the old LEC. There's 5 stalls in there, and right now they're occupied by some odds and ends by the sheriff and EMA
Because the
and
sheriff,
maintenance, and we're
the
trying to
sheriff
get
told us that he would make that available for maintenance.
a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know, I've followed up with Greg, but Greg's been busy too, and he hasn't had the chance to do that. But the idea would be to try to get some of the equipment that we have in the little garage across in the parking lot into one or couple of those stalls and get the plows inside and then use the stall or the garage over there for a maintenance. More garages bigger. So we'll figure that out.
all right. Let's keep moving on. You checked the claim sheets, they're all same. All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the monthly claims.
So moved.
Second.
Marilyn first, John seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Let's go down to petitions, coming to the zoning board of appeals. Like I started before, A through,
Hang on. a second here. I'm pretty sure those are all sent back, Charlie. I apologize.
they were sent back last month to go through one more step, and now we're bringing them to the board to,
Okay. Yep, okay.
so I think we're good to go with all these. We'll have them on the
It
agenda.
is, because I was confused. I got an email from Dee. Okay.
I talked to Alice right before the meeting and she thought we were all right. When was your email from Dee?
Well, she sent this to me at 10:05, saying that the other map amendments will also be going to the ZBA again for final approval, so they will need to do nothing with zoning this month at the county board.
I will.
Yeah, that's what she typed me up a little synopsis.
Okay.
She wasn't there Tuesday and it just said
Thank you, Wendy.
petitions listed will be coming back to the zoning ZBA in September because of incorrect due process.
Well, we didn't really send them last month because we held them up. So I think we're
Correct.
officially sending them to
I think we
ZBA
tabled
now.
them last month, so we need to take them off the table whenever we do.
Send
that.
them. Yeah, and that's what we're doing. No,
Oh, so we were right.
no.
So they gotta go. I don't know what,
They were kind of.
so,
It is correct.
all right,
And I,
let's keep moving on then. We want them on the agenda. We have no petitions.
We're good. We figured it out. Yes. They need to go back to the ZBA, right? Okay, that's how it's set.
Okay. All right. So we have none from the zoning board of appeals. We have none going to the planning commission and none from the planning commission. Would attend the announcements. That's you're gonna put that woman in to speak on the announcements. Bobby Thompson's 25-year plaque. Gary Fulkin from Best is gonna talk to us. Is that correct?
No, there it is.
And Fires, yep. Old business, amending the regulated development of wind, not solar energy systems is held over from July. We'll vote on that this month. No issues, no, nothing, nobody talked to you, Charlie, about anything they didn't like, or, I
I haven't heard anything, no.
mean, that's the reason. Yep. So we hold it over to get feedback from the community and there's no feedback, correct? All right,
11A, Charlie. 11A.
Okay, but that is actually wind though, isn't it?
The wind is the one we held over.
Yeah, I know, but it should say wind. Yeah, sorry, Nancy. It is, I told you yesterday, it should be wind. It shouldn't be so.
But again, it remains, I haven't heard from anybody.
Okay. All right. Let's do B, the Liquor Control Act. Any complaints in the last month from that? Any feedback, Nancy, on that?
No.
Okay. All right, we'll have both of them on there and approve them. Redistricting, election and census data. Do you want to take that or census date?
Yes, so there's really no new news there. Actually, at noon today, they're coming out with some census data meeting, whatever. I was gonna hopefully try to get into Zoom into that at noon today. So there's some things coming up with that. If not, I can revisit that. But, and then also, I don't know if we want to address my election equipment.
So, and Becky had a good idea. ARPA's meeting at 1 o'clock today. Next month, we're gonna have ARPA meeting earlier in the week so we can vote on it. Finance can vote on it, their agenda, and we go through there. So I don't think we can't put it on this agenda
Okay.
this month, but
Okay. And I just didn't know, kind of like Chris said, last week in my committee, I wasn't aware that I had to 100% go out for bid, but so that my election equipment is officially out for bid this week.
when's the bids come in? When's the date you have?
The deadline is August 20th at noon.
Do you still want this slot so you can talk about what you're find out today at Zoom meeting?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay,
Okay.
I'd leave it on there. Updated claims procedure recommendations. We don't need that on the agenda, I wouldn't think. Anybody have an issue with that?
No.
For Joseph Meyer resolutions, that probably needs to be on there. Discussing regarding the Comcast franchise fee hearing. Well, it's gonna be, the hearing's gonna be before the agenda, so we don't need that on agenda. All right. Resolution, cable television franchise agreement fee and fee. Wendy redid that, I think, the resolution?
Yep.
Okay. Did you email that to any of the board members or?
I'm not sure, Becky, do you know if that went out to board members, the resolution for the Comcast fee? If not, we'll make sure and get it out for the, yeah,
let's
in the
get it out
packet going
before
forward.
everybody gets a chance to look at it.
Yep.
So we definitely want that on the agenda. Resolution to appoint supervisor assessments, we need that on there. DevNet contract, do we really need that?
I don't think it needs to be.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be, having had the conversation we did this morning at finance.
Okay, just asking. Governor Board, resolution of lots, governing board, that needs to be on there. Okay, now we get to the ordinance regarding the non-highway UTV ordinance. Charlie had some changes. Chris, you wanna jump in there? Do you got them?
Okay, so a couple changes that have been coming up through judges through the just discussion, right? One is egg special use section for hours of operation. Right now, it says 6 to 11. But there'll be a portion in there that says egg has special use, because if you want to go check an irrigator, or you got a cow out or anything like that. So
Why
there'll be
don't-
a.
Why do we make it 24 hours? Don't put a restriction in there, because the city has that restriction in because they don't want these buzzing around at night. It doesn't make a difference to South County.
I see, I'm a believer in nothing good happens after dark, so 11 o'clock gets it started.
Bob's out there checking his irrigators.
Yeah,
That's
1
not,
o'clock.
Yeah,
that's egg,
that's
It's an
exempt.
egg
that's egg
Yeah.
exempt. We're talking about the guy who.
But if we just give them 24 hours and we're not splitting hairs with the ag exempt, we're not doing all that, you know.
I think put the hours in there,
Leave 'em-
you know, whether they honor them or
Catch 'em,
not,
Marty.
you know, at least we've got something there
Yeah.
that if they
Yeah,
really
and-
become a nuisance.
Yep, okay, we'll leave them in there, do the ag exempt.
Okay, so I agree 100% with you, Marilyn, there. Changing it, the sheriff had an input on this. The question was why 18 years old, changing that to 16 years old with a valid driver's license.
Yeah,
You can
if you're 16,
drive.
you drive a car, you can drive that as far as I'm concerned.
Removing the section for slow-moving vehicle emblem, and Mr. Sheeline, I think you can address to this, that Bob and I were talking about it, but these are not SMVs. They're not a grain cart being pulled by a
No, that's the problem, requiring a slow-moving vehicle on a vehicle that does 70 miles an hour.
It's
You know,
still-
it's silly.
It
Yeah.
it defeats the purpose.
It really
That's
does.
the purpose of the SMP.
So-
It is needed.
So we're
So
doing
we
away
are-
with that.
Removing that, modifying license plate to sticker.
So you just put a sticker in the back window. Good with that.
There'll be a sticker, it can go wherever on your
Nancy's gonna
machine.
Design it. So
Yep.
we've got that email yet.
And did mention the definition of a county roadway under section 4 subsection C. Also, Charlie would like to figure out how to do a safety study. And so I'm gonna look at you, Mr. Sheline, and if you and I can work with Mr.
Does the Farm Bureau have anything?
Anderson or Farm Bureau or
Resource.
something like that,
Oh, I'm sure they do.
that if we can kind of powwow after this,
Yeah.
to try to figure out a safety study for this. So
Okay.
if you can give me a hand
This is,
with
this is
that.
an ordinance. We're gonna pass it. the way it
You know, it
reads.
used to be Kevin Run. I just have to find out who Kevin, because Kevin retired, so.
One thing we talked about down at Highway, that you didn't mention, was a windshield or eye protection of some sort.
We took care of that.
I believe it does say
It-
wind.
It's got in there now.
It does require a windshield.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't have a windshield, you gotta have eye protection or a helmet with eye protection.
Yeah.
So
I
we
didn't
switched
know
that.
if it was added, but we discussed that.
I'm gonna try to get that ordinance out as soon as he gets done. We'll send it to all board members. So we got a week to look at it or dissect it. Because we could probably change it up to that night when we lay it over for a month.
Yeah.
So, correct. That way, you know, we get some more
I broke
eyes.
my chair. It's because I'm fat.
That's
So those are a couple changes that came out of discussion from this week and just so everybody's aware. And I think they're all kind of standard, so.
Yeah, I don't think the document's gonna be perfect by no means, but I think it allows us to make sure they got insurance and they're running the roads anyhow, so. I don't know, we bring it up, vote on, it, I guess. Any questions about it? Good, okay. Court system fees, circuit clerk.
I think they took care of that in.
Yeah,
finance.
Amy gave me an update at finance. I don't think it needs to be on
Don't think there's
executive
no
going
Okay.
forward.
action needed.
Yeah,
Okay.
she just wanted to modify her budget a little bit, so.
The $270,000 recommendation from Highway Department for equipment purchase. I believe that needs to be on there because it's
That's
not
a
our budget.
budget amendment.
So, okay.
So do you like it stood as read that way, or does it need to be reworded, Marilyn, as a budget amendment?
I would, instead of a
Yes,
recommendation,
I would mark it as a budget amendment. And you can add, for highway department equipment purchases, but mark it as a budget amendment.
does she have other stuff she wants to amend that date or just this year? Because there was some other stuff we needed to amend, but maybe we're just gonna do this. Probably just doing this so they can go in order. That's what we're doing.
This, so he could get this done in this,
That's why we're doing
Yeah.
it. We have other stuff coming. That's why. I
but
didn't know if
this,
she
we
wanted-
want this done so he could go ahead.
Yep.
and-
I get it. I get it. I answered my own question. Hate it when I do that. Let's go down to appointments, the
But I
resolution.
can find that. It may take me 10 minutes, but I can find that in the book.
Nope, I'm good. I'm good. You what?
I think
thought
that-
we did that and they're gonna,
That was tabled in property.
tabled. Yeah. Anything else I skip over while I go through there?
No, we're good.
So the resolution, William Shaw, that's on there, raffle report. Is there a raffle report?
No,
All right, we don't need executive session. I need a motion to approve the agenda for this month.
I'll make that motion.
Marilyn and Jim
I'll second.
seconds it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Motion carried. Thank you. Sorry about all the problems there, fellas.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Yes. Can I make that motion?
You can.
All right, motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right.
I.
Aye.
Aye.